to me about your background, Josh. Like, what was your tell people that don't know a little bit about your background, about the deck being stacked.
So at 19, I got a 5-year sentence in prison. That was kind of stacked against me, right? Ended up getting out, moving out to Colorado. Parole officer wouldn't let me drive, so I had to ride a bus to work. Some days I had to walk, so I'd walk like 4 hours to work, do my work, walk 4 hours home. And it was really bad. And I jumped in this moving company, learned moving, kicked off my first moving company in my garage, built that up. But I mean, talk about the deck being stacked, right? I came from, we were poor. My mom couldn't keep food in the fridge, right? So I have this complex that I always have to keep food in my house now. So like we were poor. We lived in a trailer, came from the trailer, ended up in prison, came from prison, ended up in Colorado, walking to work, right? So that's kind of what I've had to overcome. It's like one thing after another. And these are just roadblocks, man. They're just things that you get through. They're things that you just continue to put that execution or that action behind, and you can outgrow them, right?
What about you, Simon? So what was your deck that was stacked?
Well, it was not as bad as his deck. But I dropped out of high school, got my GED, got my class 1 truck driving license, and drove truck for almost 10 years. And then didn't have a lot of options, so I started looking online. I remember just literally typing in, how do you make money online like an idiot? And started jumping in a bunch of different things. And 5 years ago, jumped on a call with you and made a lot of sense, and that was pretty much it. So
well, you skipped a huge portion of things, but whatever.
Yeah. I've heard a few stories, but
I don't want to. I've had some legal issues in the past myself that I don't want to go too much into.
No, you don't have to. But what I'm saying is I think like the difference, or the thing that I see about all the successful entrepreneurs that I run into, you guys included, is like every one of them's had some sort of freaking bad thing, or not every one of them, but I feel like you guys specifically embody the person that's basically selling themselves that, man, it's different for those guys. Those guys are different. And I'm thinking like, no, you don't understand. These guys both did time. These guys had the legal deck stacked against them. They had to jump through a lot of hoops. But the difference is, and I think I see this in both you guys, is it's always about finding the solution to these problems or these obstacles that have been put in front of you guys. And it's that can-do kind of mentality of like, I'm not going to let these little blips in the radar take me off pace, right? And I think people need to see that, and see that, hey, it's not someone that had a golden spoon in their mouth, and that's how the only way you're going to be successful in this space. Like, there's people that were completely jacked and now are crushing it.
Well, yeah, I think so. On that, for me, basically everyone in my family thought I was a loser and then wasn't going to add up to anything. So it's kind of like you said, that was my this is like my fuck you to all of them, basically.
And you're competing against.
Exactly.
Yep.
And number two, I don't want to go back to driving truck ever again. So that's like my, so no matter how hard it gets, I have to set up a couple more lead gen sites, or I could put my fucking foot in my mouth, got 150 to do this year. That's nothing compared to, going back to driving truck for 70 hours a week. So
doing 1 million miles or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think all of us, there's a point in time, and I know you guys can't see me, but I know you'll hear me. There's a point in time where you have to come to the conclusion that I hate my job, or I hate what I'm doing more than what I'm doing over here, right? And so for me, it was like in the car business, that became the thing I started competing against. Was I hated it so bad, at least what I sold myself in my head, I will never go back. I'll never go back. And it's the same thing with truck driving, or it's the same thing with prison, or it's the same thing with whatever you're doing, right? You got to create that adversary in your head, put your fucking foot on the throat and smash the motherfucker. Like, you just have to. And excuse my language if you can't handle it, but honestly, Josh and I were talking today, we're driving around, we're talking about like, hey, like what's the one thing, if you had to write a book or you had to talk to someone about what you do, that you would try to teach them? Would it be lead gen, or would it be inspiration, or what would it be? And I'm like, dude, it's grit. Like, at the end of the day, grit to me is what every person that's sitting in this room right now has, and what you need to have in order to be successful. You got to have a little fuck you in you. You don't say fuck you, but you have to have it about what you're competing for, or what you stand for, or what you're up to. I really think that's true. And I see a lot of people that want to be entrepreneurs and they just don't have that freaking grit to them, that little kind of like that tick that makes them, makes them go.